people carry their emotions in their aura field. You know, so you could, like, just when you go next to someone and or you're around someone, and you can kind of pick up their energy, or if they feel sad, or if they're, you know, depressed or whatever it is, and you can sense that they carry that in their aura field. And then when you have intercourse with this person, that is transferred. You're basically exchanging energy. You're exchanging DNA. If it's unprotected sex, you're exchanging your emotions, you're exchanging your thoughts, you're exchanging basically all that you are, you're exchanging with each other, and you're bonding and you're becoming one. So, you know, you take from that the good and the bad from someone. So that person's got like bad energy or bad traits, it's a transference that's occurring when you're actually having intercourse with that person. You know, the debris from them that can be transferred to you, the debris from them can be transferred, you know, vice versa. So, you know, it's just like, have you been with someone and then eventually you find that you start to become them, you start to adapt their ways, you start to pick up their energy, their vibe. You know, it's like when two people have been together for a long time, after a certain period of time, they start to draw likeness, they start to look like each other. You know, that's that aura, that's that energy. They're transferring and communicating and bonding and becoming one. So, you know, you really have to be careful who you exchange sacred energy with. And my rule of thumb is, if that person is not someone that you would like to be, then do not have sexual intercourse with them. If they're not someone that you admire or you would like to be, you know, and all the qualities they have, you don't like it, do not have intercourse with them, because essentially by having intercourse with them, you're exchanging that energy with them. You're sharing that energy, you're sharing that space with them. And, you know, that's transferred onto you. It leaves debris onto your being. You know, just like if you go in an environment that's sad, you know, it's going to make you feel sad, because energy transference is very real. So if you're having sex with someone who's sad or who's depressed, that energy is going to be transferred into you. You know, if their thoughts is not right, that's going to be also transferred to you. And if they've got a strings of other attachment to other people, they carry that with them in their aura field, and that's been transferred to you as well. See, when you exchange DNA, so when you're having unprotected sex with someone and you exchange DNA, what that is information. Your DNA, your body fluid carries information. Have you noticed when they're doing a DNA test, you know, like a paternity test or whatever, what do they take? They take a swab from your mouth. Why is it that? Because your body fluid carries information. So when you're exchanging body fluid with someone, you're exchanging information, you're exchanging DNA. You know, so it's happening on a physical level, it's happening on an emotional level, on an energetic level, on a spiritual level. That's what you're exchanging when you're having sex with someone else. Have you ever been with someone for such a period of time to where you start to like not feel yourself, like you start to have habits, or you're noticing things about yourself that you didn't have before? Like that's happened to me. Like I've been with a guy in the past, and you know, he used to get anxiety attacks, and when I met him, I didn't even know what that was. But after being with him for like over a long period of time, then I started to get them. And I was like, what the hell is this? I never used to get this. It was only now, like, you know, knowing what I know and reflecting back, I'm like, oh my God, that's where that came from. You can tell like when you've had intercourse with someone, if it was like a positive or a negative experience, because over time it shows up in you. You know, how do you feel about yourself afterwards? Do you feel worthless? Do you feel like, have you got a low self-esteem? Do you feel depressed? Are you starting to feel things that you don't normally feel? You know, you can tell, like, for instance, the last person I was with, like, his confidence wasn't very great, you know, like, his self-esteem wasn't great. And then over time, I start to feel that within my being, and I'm like, hold on, like, this is not me. But that's what sacred energy exchange do. When you're laying with someone, you become their equivalent. That's why when relationships go bad, and, you know, there's no point of bashing your ex or acting like you're better than the person you was with before. Because the minute you lay with someone, they become your equal. You become like this. You become the same. You've exchanged everything. You've exchanged DNA, you've exchanged bodily fluid, you've exchanged energy, you've exchanged emotions, you've exchanged thoughts. You know, that's a contract, that's a binding contract. Sex is a ritual, it's a binding ritual. And that's why when people are having sex, especially unprotected sex, like, it can become a thing where, you know, the relationship is unhealthy for you, but you just can't, like, seem to get rid of that person, or you can't seem to let go of that person. Because you've made a contract with them, a binding contract. you know, and that's where you become tied to them, and you have to kind of learn to release. And you know, I can do other videos on that. So I'm going to tell you why it's difficult to break off with someone that you've been having sex with, that you've been exchanging sacred energy with. I found a studies by a psychologist called Daniel Arman, and he spoke about something called limbic bonding. So Dr. Daniel talked about something that's called limbic bonding. This is something that causes you to become addicted to the person that you're having sex with, because near the center of the brain lies the deep limbic system. This part of the brain sets the emotional tone of the mind. So it promotes bonding. It stores highly charged emotional memories and modulates motivation and libido. So whenever you have sex with someone, neurochemical changes occur in your brain, and that encourage limbic emotional bonding. So in other words, while you may think you're just having casual sex, you are in fact maintaining and establishing an emotional bond, whether you like it or not. And especially for females, we have a larger limbic system than men, and will typically be more limbically connected. So, you know, if you're trying to get over someone, literally, you have to just avoid having sex with them, because all you're doing is you're creating more limbic bonding with that person. So for the guys, this is what I want you to consider. You know, a guys more or less have the same thing that a woman have, but theirs is just on the external. You know, like your balls could be considered like our ovaries. You know, your penis is like a woman's clitoris. You know, with men, they push, they emit like the sun, and women, we pull in like the moon. The moon it pulls in the tides of the ocean. So when a man is pushing, a woman is pulling in. We're absorbing what you're pushing into us. But for men, how I want you to consider sexual energy exchange is, firstly, let me talk about pheromones. So what is pheromones? Pheromones is a chemical substance produced and released in the environment, and it affects the behavior or physiology of others or of its species. So it suggests that humans communicate through odors, and not just humans, you see it in the plants and in the bees, and also in the animal kingdom. So it suggests that we're communicating through odors. You know, pheromones are chemical signals we give off to entice sexual partners. It's kind of like in the animal kingdom when they send out a flare to let others know that they're ready to mate. So when a woman ovulates, her body floods with hormones that make her want to procreate. Her hips becomes fuller, which subconsciously send out signals to the mate. You know, it indicates that she's fertile and she's ready, you know, to have intercourse. So pheromones are signals that alters behavior. It can cause sexual arousal, bonding, or even intimidation. So this is something you want to consider when we're talking about sacred energy exchange. And for you guys, in speaking of pheromones, I want you to be aware of something called copulin. So copulin are chemicals secreted by females. They're basically fatty acids found in vaginal secretion. This is given off when a woman ovulates, also when a woman gets aroused. Her body emits these chemicals and ignite desires in a potential mate. You know, these pheromones cause strong emotional and physical bond between the man and the woman. You know, it's set to make a man, you know, quite foggy in terms of his thought process. You know, when he's thinking and analyzing, this is where people use the term pussy whip, because this is where a woman can kind of manipulate you and, you know, kind of make you do what she wants you to do, basically. And it's similar for women. When you're having sex with a man and he touches the root of your vagina, the bottom of your vagina, and he asks you certain things, and, you know, call him daddy and stuff like that, and you say yes, you know, it's kind of the same thing. But anyway, studies have proven that when a man is exposed to copulin, his body exhibits a significant increase of testosterone levels, and it kicks him into an overload state of sexual euphoria. You know, this then suggests the effects of copulin that, a woman can plant trigger words. You know, this makes you vulnerable, basically, as a man. A woman can basically manipulate and control you. So, you know, copulin are also the cause of collective thinking in a group of women. You know, it is responsible for the syncing of menstrual cycle. And when a group of women live together, their cycles tend to, you know, become in sync. They tend to be having a menstrual cycle around the same time or days apart. And, you know, this comes down to the pheromones called copulin. So I just wanted you guys to be aware of this.
Think that I can make you believe in love and sex and magic.
We have to bear in mind that when we're engaging in sexual intercourse is that we're using the root chakra, which is your creative chakra, and your sacral chakra, which is your sexual chakra. I will go more in depth in separate videos on these. But when you're about to have an orgasm, that sensation that is rising up from the root of your spine all the way up into your body is called Kundalini energy. And Kundalini is a Sanskrit term from ancient India that identifies the rising of an energy and consciousness, which has been coiled at the base of your spine, and is the source of your life. You know, so that's the sensation you feel when you're having an orgasm. It's that life force energy that's rising up, you know. So when you think about it, orgasm by its very nature requires your total participation, you know. So you can call sex magic if you like, because, you know, it propels you into a mind, body, spirit experience. Your mind creates an intention, your body provides the fuel, and your spirit guides the results. You know, like the Buddha once said, with our thoughts, we make the world. So in essence, what this means is that everything we experience in our sensory world evolves from our individual and collective thoughts. So when you're engaging in sexual intercourse with someone, you're exchanging more than just a physical sensation and pleasure. You're exchanging energy, you're exchanging thoughts, you're exchanging feelings, you know. So I just wanted to say, in terms for you guys, you want to be mindful of who you're exchanging energy with. You know, think about the woman that you're exchanging energy with. Is she someone that you consider your wife? Is she someone that you would really want to lay with? Do you like her character? Do you like her energy? Do you like her vibe? You know, think about all these things before you push and she pulls into you, because you're exchanging. There's an exchange going on there. And if she's not someone that, you know, tick all those boxes for you in terms of her energy and how she carries herself or her mental state, when you lay with her, she's going to become your equal. Even if you just see it as, you know, it's a one night stand, I'm just sleeping with her because, you know, I just want to get off. Think about what you're giving her. You're getting pleasure from it at the time and the intimate act, but think about what you're actually going to take away from it. Do you want that? So, you know, that's something to consider. So for women, I want you to consider, you know, who you lay down with, because, you know, like men, they push and we pull in. So basically we're pulling in what they're giving to us, you know. And I think there were studies saying that women retain the DNA of every man that she slept with as well. So, you know, that's something to consider. You know, what type of spirit does this man have? You know, is this man going around and sleeping with multiple people? Is he just in that kind of predatory mode? You know, what kind of intentions is he like coming to you with? You know, what is he exchanging? What is he giving to you? And if he's sleeping with multiple different multiple people, you know, think about if he's having unprotected sex with these people, you know, their pH balance can throw your pH balance off, you know, because, you know, everybody pH balance is different. You know, their flora can throw your flora off, because every woman, we eat different, we look after ourselves different. So for instance, for me, I eat mostly like a plant-based diet. You know, I know how to look after myself. Not every woman do the same. You know, what she consumes, what she puts in her body. And if he's going to that woman and he's coming back to you, he's transferring whatever she's got emotionally, spiritually, physically. You know, he's taking that onto himself and then he's bringing that to you. You know, so just be mindful of that. In going forward, what I would like to say, you know, things to consider before you sexually exchange energy with someone is see people as energies instead of faces or gender. You know, see people as energy and feel them out. And how do they feel to you? Is that someone you want to invite in your space? Because your body is essentially your temple. You know, this is your sacred space, and you have to be mindful of who you're inviting in this sacred space. Because when you invite them in, you're taking parts of their beings onto you. And, you know, you shouldn't have sex with someone, as I said previously, that you don't admire or you'd want to be with, or I would hate to be like this person, you know. Sorry, my lighting's changed, the window, the sun's coming out. So before you lay with someone, just think, you know, is this someone I want to procreate with? And I don't mean just procreate as in having a baby. I mean procreate as in, would I want to procreate this person's mind, this person's spirit, this person's energy? Would I want that to be embodied inside of me? Would I want to become that? So these are things you have to factor before you have sexual intercourse with someone. And if you're not trying to procreate any of this with that person, then, you know, it's as simple as this: don't have sex with them. So, you know, going forward, just look at sex a bit more in depth than just, you know, a physical act or something you do for pleasure. It's much more, you know, deeper than that. It's actually a ritual. It's, you're inviting someone into your soul, you're inviting them into your space, you're taking on this person's whatever they have, their mental thought process, their emotions, their baggage. You're taking that on. You know, it's a marriage. So, you know, you really need to consider before you just, like, you know, have casual sex. And there isn't anything as just casual sex, because you're taking on these residue, you're taking on these negative and positive things from it without, you know, your acknowledgement, or you're just not probably thinking about it that way, or you're not reflecting enough. You know, so you just have to remember that everything is done with intention. You know, like, you can say stuff and it's just the intention behind it. You can touch someone and it's the intention behind it. You know, someone can touch you in a way where it's romantic, and someone can touch you in a way where it feels creepy. So it's the intention that person's touching you with, the intention that person's having sexual intercourse with you. What's their thought process? What's going through their mind? Like, what sort of thoughts and feelings do they have about you that they're, you know, they're engaging this in your body? You know, so you're taking that on. So you have to make sure that's pure, that's something that you want to participate in, that's something that you want to take on.